We may not be the strongest, but our immune systems are legendary among alien races. There is a saying, if it makes a human sick, it will kill you. I felt guilty the moment I thought the word. It was the common way to refer to humans among many races. It was a word they themselves often used. But I knew its origin and context. Humans may use it in a joking fashion, but I knew, as did they, most used it in a derogatory way. But it was still the first word that popped into my mind as the human walked off his ship, and I felt terrible. I had spoken to Ambassador Quick many times over Holo. He was a good man, always patient, generous when he could be, and honest. Rare traits to find in the diplomatic corps. Nonetheless, leper was still my first thought, seeing him walk towards me. I tried to remain calm. I had extensive training to remain calm in stressful situations. But as the clanks of his boots came closer, I could feel my tail twitch despite my best efforts. It didn't help that I was alone. That was standard procedure when meeting a human in person. I glanced to my right and could see my staff watching me from behind the bioshield barrier. 3 different species, 3 different sets of manners and expressions, but each one a mixture of fear and forced calm. Hello, Ambassador Gorin. It is wonderful to meet you in person. Ambassador Quick greeted me as he stepped off the exit ramp. He put his hand out, an almost universal custom among the intelligent life of the universe. I hesitated just the briefest moment, and my guilt deepened. I reached out and took his gloved hand firmly. Ambassador Quick, John, it is indeed wonderful to finally meet you, if under unfortunate conditions. The glove was cool. Humans did like it a little colder than our people. I couldn't help it. My tail twitched again, holding his hand. Even for that brief moment, I knew I was safe. The human ambassador wore a full-cover 10-9 biosuit. 99.999999999% uptime of fully active bio-containment, monitoring, and reporting. The suit even included a self-immolation feature that automatically triggered if any break was detected that would incinerate the occupant and everything within tail distance in less than a second. No breach had ever occurred, and there were only 3 deaths in a century due to the self-immolation triggering accidentally. But still my heart pounded in my chest. Ambassador Quick smiled generously from behind his clear helmet. He no doubt knew him in person. I was glad humans smiled. Many species did not, and even among those that did, smiling was not always considered a kind gesture, but humans and Callsmen both did. I returned his smile as we let go of each other's hands. Behind the ambassador, a self-guiding cart loaded with 12 cases each, roughly half my height cubed, floated down to us. I was both deeply relieved and deeply apprehensive about those crates. The ambassador looked over his shoulder to see the cart stop behind him. He stepped to the side as the cart gently lowered itself to the ground. "Ambassador," he said, as he gestured me to examine the crates. He politely took several steps back to give me some breathing room. I stepped forward and quickly opened the first crate. My haste was not so I could leave the human's presence. Or not just, but because of the dire need for what was inside. Lifting the lid, I found the requested vials in cold storage. I gently lifted one and took it over to the access port in the bioshield wall where my staff and the planet's top medical staff were waiting. I placed the precious vial in the transfer chamber and stepped back as it closed, vacuumed out the air, irradiated the enclosure, performed a deep medical scan, and the interface lit up red with extreme warning. That was expected. The contents were, technically, a violation of every major biohazard, bioweapon, and safety protocol in the universe. It was why I was here receiving the shipment and not medical personnel. I punched in my override authorization, had my eyes scanned, and a small blood sample taken to confirm my identity. On the other side of the bioshield, Dr. Hora, Che, if medical officer of the Cal Republic, did the same. Only with authorization from the political and medical governing bodies could this be allowed through the BioShield. With all credentials verified, final warnings given, and a recorded statement that we knew the risks, was the vial cleared and allowed through. On the other side, I watched as Dr. Hora took a deep breath before she picked up the vial. Quickly, she moved over to the emergency workstation that had been prepared the day before. She placed the vial in a secure testing chamber, then used the robotic hands to open it. Her tail twitched erratically, and I could not blame her. She extracted a sample and begun her work. We were an advanced people. We would know the results in mere moments. But it felt like days. Suddenly her tail stopped twitching. She shouted something I couldn't hear through the impenetrable barrier. Then she turned to me, tears in her eyes. Tears of joy. I could see her staff and mine shouting and jumping in celebration. I breathed deep and shook in relief. I turned and walked back to Ambassador Quick. Too happy to remember my fear of the man, I embarrassed him in a strong hug. He gently hugged me back. Then I remembered myself and pulled back, slightly embarrassed. But the human simply smiled. "Thank you," I said. "Thank you on the behalf of all my people. The pandemic has been raging for nearly a year here. We tried everything, but it mutated so quickly. By the time a vaccine or even cure was available, it was useless." My shoulders slumped, thinking of all who had died in so short a time. This would mean victory, but much had been loss, and the scars in our society would not heal quickly. "You are welcome," the ambassador said, still smiling. "We know all too well the devastating effects of disease." For just a brief moment his smile dimmed. I knew humans were good people. They contributed significantly to the galactic good. Their medical technology was second to none. The lives they had saved could be counted in billions, but their expertise came with the greatest cost. Their planet had evolved the most deadly, most contagious diseases ever known. Even lab-created bioweapons paled in comparison to many common human diseases. As such, they lived in perpetual quarantine from all other intelligent life. A comfortable slice of the universe had been set aside for them, and through holotechnology, robotic surrogates, and other means they could interact with the rest of us. But never could they join us. Even visiting in his 10-9 biosuit, the ambassador was confined to a bio-shielded landing pad on the southern Arctic continent, the fear of humans so great. I myself would be isolated for a full 28 days, just for meeting with him. Nonetheless, when they were asked to help, they always did. I looked at the crates as they silently made their way towards the bio-shield barrier. There was more testing to be done. We would triple-check everything the humans had verified. It would still be weeks before we could inoculate the first test subjects. But those crates were the beginning of the end, and potentially a terrible danger. "Is it true?" I asked the ambassador as the crates moved away. Ambassador Quick tilted his head in the way I had come to learn meant confusion. "Is it true it's made from human blood?" I couldn't keep the small taste of fear out of my voice. The ambassador smiled and nodded in understanding. "Yes and no," he explained. "It's a serum. We infected a small group of humans, after extensive testing, of course, and our immune systems naturally developed antibodies to the disease. We then filtered the antibodies from their blood and—" He gestured to the crates, which were now passing through the bioshield, my override still in place. My tail twitched again at the idea something of biologically human entering my planet. "Were any of the test subjects harmed?" I asked. "No. A mild fever at most that lasted a day or two." Amazing, I thought. The disease had killed millions with no signs of stopping, but a human immune system destroyed it in just days, as if it was nothing. "Will you tell your people where it came from?" the ambassador asked. I felt he was a little apprehensive of my answer. "That has been a matter of great debate," I answered carefully. We have decided to publicly state it was human medical technology and leave it at that." The ambassador seemed relieved by my answer. Despite what they had done for many peoples, anti-human sentiment was still very high on many worlds. "Thank you again. This will save millions of lives." "You are most welcome." He glanced at the crates as they completed their passage through the bio-shield. "And now I should be going. It was wonderful to meet you in person, Ambassador Gorin. I hope we never do so again."